It's Anders, and in this video I'm going to give you a breakdown of some of the amazing tools available to you in the piano roll in FL Studio 20. So for demo purposes, I've just got open a Harmor patch just on piano. And we're just going to look at some of the tools we've got to help us make melodies and get really creative in that piano roll. So new pattern into piano roll, real simple. One of the first tools we're going to look at is the helper that helps us find the particular keys that are going to be useful in what we're working in. So if we go up to the top left here and click on the little down arrow, and we go down into helpers, we've got scale highlighting. And this is really useful because it helps us find, quite simply, a scale and highlights those relative keys. So if I want to switch to F sharp in major, I'm going to hit F sharp, and we see the keys jump, so everything's now going to be in F sharp. That's super useful, and it means as long as I highlight a white highlighted area in here, it's going to be in the F sharp scale. That's something else that's super useful about this. It's really easy for finding out and figuring out chords really quickly. So we know we're in F sharp. So if we lead off of an F sharp, if we miss every other white section, we're always going to be able to make a triad that sounds correct. So we can do this, miss out a white section here, and do this. It's going to be F triad. We can do the same with that, leading off any of these keys. So see how I've missed one here, missed one here. So here you can very easily build up chord triads super quickly just by missing out those sections. Now notice that last one ever so slightly off, and that's because I don't use the snap to grid, something that might be really useful for you. Up in the top left hand corner again, we have this little icon just here. It says snap to grid. If we click on it, it has some different options. Now I leave it on none. I do this because I can work in a natural way, and I find that even when clicking about, I can get quite a natural feel. See, that second chord is not perfect, but it sounds pretty good when played. That's because my clicks weren't perfectly in place, but it gives more of a natural feel. That's how I prefer to work. You might prefer to use something like cell, where now, if I was to put this in, everything's always going to be exactly on point. We've got various different types of snap in here. You need to work out what you're doing and what's going to be useful for you. Cell is going to be one of the most useful ones because it's each individual 16th on here. Like I say, personally, I have it on none because it leads to kind of a more natural feel of things. Now we've just made this super quick chord progression here. Well, what if I want to find a melody within that progression? Well, there's something we can do super easy that lets us get really cool melodies very quickly. We're going to go Command and C and Command and V. And it's going to make a copy of everything. We're going to bring all of these up 1 octave. Actually, in this case, we'll bring them up 2 octaves. Now let's have a quick listen and make sure the notes aren't too extreme. No, that's not so bad. So another tool we can use here that's going to let us get melodies really quickly and fun is the slice tool. We can get to it by pressing C, or it's up here in your menu, and it's the little Stanley knife type thing here. And this is something that will get you random melodies that generally work pretty well. We're going to put our snap to grid on again. We're going to have it on cell for the sake of it, or maybe even 1/4, depends what we're after. We'll go for cell for the time being. And we're going to slice our chords up here, but we don't necessarily just want to do them like this. Although that can totally work, we want to mix it up a bit and give a bit of an angle in there and get some real chops going on. And here very quickly we're starting to get some fun melodies in there. How long did that take? A couple of seconds, if that. Next thing to do from there is potentially purge some notes. So we can just press P, get our brush tool back, and do things like this. And within a couple of moments here, we've got a full chord melody with our triads, and we've got a nice top melody to go with it just by chopping up the chords that were already in there. Because we've used exactly the same note, it's going to work every time. It's always going to sound right. Now, at the minute, everything's all exactly the same velocity and volume, and that feels a bit unnatural. But we could do something very simply to adjust all the velocities in one go. So let's hold down Command. We can select all of our new melody. If we hold down Option or Alt and use our mouse wheel, we can reduce the level of our melody. So we can adjust how that feels very, very quickly. Something else we can do to give it more of a feel is use quantization and just focus on the levels and how they feel. So we have all of the melodies selected like this. Going to our top left again. This time we're going to go into Tool and we are going to grab Quantize here. So there's various quantize options, and we can leave it on 16th hip hop. Do you know what? Have a look through, find what works for you. A couple of things we're going to take away here. We don't want to adjust the start times. I like those kind of off-skewed start times that give us a bit of a feel. So we take this slider all the way down and look at how our start times change, right? I like them being kind of skewed off a little bit, so we take that back. What we do want is the velocity section here. And look, as we move it, see how some of the notes change depending on where they are in the grid. So that's going to give us a different feel in our melody, and it's a really quick and easy way to do it. Now we can adjust the sensitivity as well. That will give us some adjustment. Look, in this case, very little, and things like release and panning can also be affected, but let's accept that. And now we've got an even deeper change in our melody. Starting to feel really natural really quickly. All right, all of our chords at the moment, all of the hits are exactly the same volume. That's not naturally how they would be played. Sounds all right, but we want to give a bit of movement in between all of them. So let's see how we could do that. So let's select all of our chords like this, and up in our options again, if we go into Tools, we've got one called Strum. We can also get there with Option and S. Now this can do a couple of cool things. We can adjust the time, so even if everything was bang on point, we can get kind of a strumming guitar feel. What we're going to use it for though is the velocity here, and we're going to just adjust the velocities ever so slightly, look, between what we've got. So now so we can get a nice balance there and figure out exactly what it is that you like. Let's give it a tiny bit of strum. You can also adjust individual notes. So just by hovering over them, holding Option using your mouse wheel. If you find one note in particular standing out too much, you can adjust it that way, for example. And hopefully, guys, that's helped you out with some really quick and easy tools inside the piano roll to help you get a better melody much faster. Thank you guys for watching. I hope the video was helpful. And if you got any questions, throw them in the comments below. I will see you guys on the next one.